plenty of people who were abandoned shamefully during that period, but it's not limited to the people who horrendously lost their lives as a consequence of COVID. We've also abandoned the tens of thousands of kids who essentially stopped going to school as a consequence of school closures that we now know were essentially not important to controlling the virus, but very important to people's life chances. The way in which the pandemic measures, the lockdown measures, were incredibly authoritarian. I mean, I think we all agreed something had to be done, but surely a more voluntary approach rather than something which involved the shredding of our civil liberties. I mean, Matt Hancock was effectively ruling by decree during that period. He was making and unmaking laws at the strike of his pen under the Public Health Act when his hands weren't otherwise engaged. Surely we should be concerned about this mass-scale theft of our civil liberties, the impact it's had on the economy and education, and the fact that we never seem to have an actual reckoning with that, partly because we've memory hold it, because we all want to move on, but also partly because I think all of the political parties were essentially in favour of this project of trying to fight a virus through authoritarianism. We need to start talking about that, because there's a lot of victims of the lockdown as well as the pandemic itself, which needs to be
What do you say to that point?
The fact that we were being made to believe absurdities like a Scotch egg could ward off the presence of a virus. All of this should have brought us back to the question about trusting people to make these decisions. And also, as we look at it in the final analysis, and you see that however way you chart it, in terms of excess deaths, a country like Sweden, which took a very different path to us, is either at the bottom or near the bottom of excess deaths, tells us that another path that was more liberal, that trusted people, and that didn't have all these consequences could have been possible.
There was some silliness there. I'll always remember the chaps walking in the Peak District getting fined.
So
it was more, balance wasn't quite right, but it was
people
the right
were
approach.
issued with £10,000 fines for holding a house party. How is that supportable? That's the mad world that we entered into when we...
Well, on